Before we jump into today's episode, I wanted to remind those healthcare executives out there that are from small and rural healthcare organizations that Capstone provides complimentary consultations. As you may know, we help small and rural healthcare organizations to be the provider and employer of choice to keep care local and margins strong. Go to capstoneleadership.net and you can fill out the contact form there or actually self-schedule a day and time that works for you. We'd love to partner with you in executing a winning strategy.
When we talk about the impact that we can make, and I'm seeing that from our Leadership Development Institute, right? Taking those skills that are learned and that knowledge and training all of these people that can then go out into the community and provide that expertise, whether it's with the church or school or local, chamber of commerce, they're using those skills to benefit the community.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. And today in the studio is Ben Davis. He is the CEO at Glencoe Regional Health. And we're going to start by having him introduce himself, and then we're going to have a conversation. It's actually the fifth one we've had on the podcast related to their organization's experience initiative. And so we'll start with your introduction, Ben. Welcome.
Thanks for having me again, Sue. So I am Ben Davis, President and CEO here at Glencoe Regional Health. We are a 25-bed critical access hospital, 3-clinic health system, and a 108-bed long-term care facility with an additional 40-apartment independent living center. So currently around 700 employees, continue to see significant growth. We're located just southwest of the Twin Cities area, about 50 minutes. We can make it to the airport in about 50 minutes for MSP. So
that's what we do in the Midwest, don't we? We talk about how long it takes us to get places, not how many miles.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here again. I love that when we started our partnership with your organization, you were game to chronicle the transformation of a healthcare organization and to do that quarterly through this podcast. So this is number 5. So that tells our audience that we're about 5 quarters in or just past that. And what your organization has named your experience initiative. So to catch people up, maybe let's start with this. Your organization decided to create a new strategic plan and then a new approach to implementing that strategic plan in this last cycle of your organization's planning and execution. What made you, as the CEO, think about doing it differently than maybe you had done it before or seen it done before? What was maybe the spark to do it a little differently?
I believe that in MBA school or business school, they teach you how to do strategic planning. You can create a strategic plan. The hardest part is the implementation of a strategic plan. That takes years, consistent effort and focus. And to be able to achieve your goals within the strategic plan, you have to have a structure or a foundation to be able to move your initiatives forward. So as we spoke initially, Sue, it was, we have to do this because this will allow us to be successful in the future. It will allow us to bring whatever strategic plan that we have forward and be able to implement it with our teams acting as the driving force for those strategic initiatives.
I know a lot of CEOs of organizations, and they're the kind that are making things happen. We don't work with organizations that are just satisfied with status quo. Most recently, I remember talking to a CEO and he was saying, CEOs really want to not just make a mark, they want to leave a mark, right? They want it to outlast them, to be something that isn't just something that happened in a year or two of their leadership, but something that really impacts the organization, maybe even well after they've moved on to something else, whether it's retirement or another opportunity. Right now, I know you got plans for the next year, you got goals for the next year, but when you look beyond that for your organization, what are maybe some of the aspirations and the legacy work that you really wish for Glencoe Regional well into the future? I mean, you had that spark to start, but to keep going, what is that?
That's a big question,
It
Sue.
is, isn't
And you're right. Having a positive impact, making a positive impact in the community, not just at the hospital, not just at the health system that we work at, but in the community that we serve. Having a thriving community, because I think that's also part of having a health care, hospital, clinics, long-term care, making sure that there is our services long-term for in healthcare services. But I really think it's community-wide. And so I've found a lot of solace in coaching different sports with children and being involved in activities outside of the hospital setting. So that's been fulfilling for me. But for the organization as a whole, there are so many opportunities. I do think that maybe it's not that we want to achieve something, but achieve that we're providing the best care for our patients and our residents, because that's the care that they deserve. And to maintain a high level of quality is really important to me. And that's why I'm very cognizant of, as we've grown significantly over the past 2 years, and we've seen really significant rates of growth, that we don't lose the quality for our patients and our residents.
Yeah. What I found, that just speaks to me so much from prior experience I had on an executive team. Again, our work is primarily with small and rural healthcare organizations, and we're often the biggest employer. And, we're a really important community asset. I noticed that when our healthcare organization really was growing, thriving, providing excellent service, being an excellent employer, great quality, great reputation for quality and service, is that other businesses in town were like, whoa, we better step it up. Like the hotels and the restaurants and other businesses were like, wow, we were almost an example for the community of great business. And we were a leader and even a role model for that. So yeah, what you mentioned really speaks to me, Ben, about community.
Yeah. And when we talk about the impact that we can make, and I'm seeing that from our Leadership Development Institute, right? Taking those skills that are learned and that knowledge and training all of these people that can then go out into the community and provide that expertise, whether it's with the church or school or local, chamber of commerce. They're using those skills to benefit the community.
Yeah, I did that very thing. I'm giggling to myself because I was on the finance board at our church, and I was like, okay, what are our goals for this year? And where are our quarterly action plans? To like some of the things that our leaders do. And they're looking at me like, Sue, can you turn it off? And I'm like, no, actually, at some point, I can't turn it off. It just carries with me wherever I go, even to church. So, and, I've seen it with the employees that are on the teams, where an employee on a team will say to me, I'm a better father and husband because I'm on this team. And I feel so proud of the work I'm doing that it just carries home with me. And I'm a different human because I get to be part of something that is doing good in our community, and it's making me a better human at home with my family. And so we just have no idea what the positive ripple effects are, do we? I mean, it's just, we don't even know.
No, but we can see that it's the right thing to do. And
yeah.
You've heard me say that again. It makes sense, right? It is hard though. It's hard to get through the first year and a half, but it's good quality work that needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I always marvel at that the things that make it hard, we're always there, but we're going to move forward in spite of the hard. We're going to conquer the hard. We're going to problem solve the hard. And you just kind of have to keep moving. And then it unearths itself. It finds its way to us. And then we can deal with it. So let's jump into leadership change. Now, one of the things not that you're working on is having your leaders adopt a new way of leading. And it starts with a few of them embracing them and a few more and a few more and a few more. So 5 quarters in or so, you just got some recent assessment results that kind of gives you a peek into how that compares to when you started to where you're at now. What did you learn through that process of having that baseline and now a reassessment of that?
I learned that we're on the right track. And one of the quotes from the assessment that we received back was, "We're getting better at staying on track with goals. The monthly check-ins help keep us accountable." And to hear leaders say that they want to be kept accountable is really important, because that's a shift in leadership mentality, in that, it's not always a conversation that people want to have. And we've put together, again, the infrastructure and the steps that align, and it's multifactorial, where we have goals, we have goal setting, and then we have goal follow-up, and then we have communication boards that talk about goals. So all the structure is there, the tactics, the action plans, all of those are there within this. That's the fundamental core of what you've been helping us with. We've been seeing a lot of alignment, where previously we would throw things out there and then they'd fizzle. Here, this really does have staying power. Staying power because you embed the structure, whether that's communication boards, it's rounding, it's organization-wide goals, it's setting and achieving goals. All of that structure is embedded to what you do on a daily basis.
Did you get any sense that for leaders that, one, it feels different to be a leader there, and two, that it's changing how it feels for the whole organization and all the people in it? Did you get any sense of subjective changes from that survey?
Well, I think there's a commitment to what we're doing and a shared vision. So I think that leaders really appreciate gaining the skills, and so that we're all thinking the same about how we approach situations. We're working together more collaboratively. There's interdepartmental rounding going on, which that had not been happening previously. And so, yes, we have metrics that we're watching and we're improving. Can we correlate that because of interdepartmental rounding that it's getting better? Maybe, but there's no actionable data to say that there is correlation. So we're getting the feeling that people are more closely connected and are willing to work together on certain things in a, I think, more productive way, because there are relationships built and we're getting people together more often.
Yeah. Interdepartmental rounding was one of my favorite forms of rounding when I was a leader. I get, what you're saying, that it's really hard to maybe, for everything that we're doing, be able to map it to some data that shows that it's making a difference. But it's not something you can really measure. Like, are we still siloed or are we not? But when I remember thinking that years before our transformation, certain departments were always at each other, like pharmacy and nursing, let's say, ER and our behavioral health unit for some reason. But after we moved down this process, it's like those things just didn't happen anymore. And it wasn't until we stopped and paused and thought about it in hindsight, it's like, geez, that used to be a big part of our whirlwind, was problem solving, those day-to-day, hiccups between departments and things falling through the cracks or getting caught in the middle. And now it's like, those just don't happen anymore. We didn't really measure it, a baseline to say it does, but it's just like, it just isn't a thing anymore. So I want that for you, that it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah. Well, we see it through our employee engagement survey. We just completed an employee engagement survey this summer in June, and we scored at the 83rd percentile. And all of the things that we're doing impact that,
Yeah.
and so and our response rate this year was above what we expected. All of these little things really add up to big things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just you can't measure everything.
Yeah. The data geek in me wants to, but I do want to measure everything, proof. So it's the pause to look back, whether it's your annual employee survey, your leadership assessment tool, some of these things, the goals, the measurements, where you look back and you have those pauses where you can say, wow, things have changed for the better, for sure.
There's changes happening, and it's been phenomenal for us. But transparently, there is a lot of work that gets done. And our leaders, we've received feedback from our leaders that resiliency is really important, and having the time to be able to make these changes. And so that's something that we're focusing on now. Is it makes the work easier, but that doesn't mean that there's still not a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
staffing challenges come into play and all of those things. But we as an organization are able to move faster. However, transparently, I do want to say that there is just in healthcare a challenge, staffing challenges, workforce challenges that come up, and where we do have to plan, do study adjust, mostly a lot of study adjusting as we navigate our journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Speaking about what's going on in the world of healthcare, staffing challenges, reimbursement, Medicaid, and all of that, are you finding that with these new systems in place of communication and setting goals and training leaders, are you finding that you're able to take maybe even some of those external challenges and engage your teams, engage your leaders in new, different ways to maybe be thinking about these challenges, overcoming them? Or is this still something maybe that you're thinking about, our executive team, our board now has more bandwidth to deal with these things because our teams, our leaders are working on the day-to-day operational improvements of quality and growth, those kind of things. So how do you see the external challenges finding their way and being impacted by or influenced by your experience initiative?
Well, I think any challenge that we face will be much easier because of the processes that we have in place. So workforce challenges, certainly, those are happening, but we have the mechanisms, the communication channels, the metrics. That's something that we didn't necessarily have specific metrics that we would look at, certainly from a board perspective,
Mm-hmm.
but organization wide goals. Now we have those metrics that we're all tracking, so we can utilize those systems to adjust to any external threats that are happening.
Mm-hmm. Let's say the pandemic as an external challenge that all of our partners went through, and you speak to how thankful they were that they had these systems and these processes and this trust and this engagement and this community reputation as being a great employer and provider, that they had all those things in their corner before they were challenged by something like this. And, many of them speak to that being a period of growth and improvement and positive change versus such a big hit or negative.
Yeah, when you have a group rowing in the same direction and have core principles and have a standard, it's much easier to adapt and adjust.
Mm-hmm.
That's the expectation already.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just at the Colorado Hospital Association event in the last couple of weeks, and this one speaker had this really interesting perspective that a lot of these things that are external to us, not that we can ignore them, but in a lot of respects, they're out of our control to some respects. We have to respond to them, but we can't really control them. And so I think if we can take that good advice to do our very best for the things that are within our control, then these things out of our control maybe will have a less detrimental impact.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in what's going on outside in the external environment.
Mm-hmm.
And when we waste, but I shouldn't say waste, when we use up our resources, which time and energy on things that we can't control, that means we have less
Yeah.
time for the things that we can control. So that
Yeah.
focus, I think the organization-wide goals, the communication, the rounding, all of those things, we can focus on those to create, again, the structure to adapt to any external factor that may affect us that we can't control.
Yeah. I like this other speaker too. He said, this is a good take home to do for a lot of organizations is call and schedule an appointment at one of your clinics or a colonoscopy or something go just like kick the tires. And we call that validation, right? To
Mm-hmm.
actually call and test the telephone etiquette and the access to care. And I know access is very important where you are, that got a big strategic priority about removing barriers to access and making it quicker, easier, and better for your community to access the services they need. But I thought that was a good one, is just, to experience what it's like for our patients to try to access care in their community hospital.
Yeah, a walk in their shoes, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as we sometimes call it,
Mm-hmm.
being on the other side provides perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I still hold it out there as a firm belief that we have the ability in small and rural healthcare organizations to do it way better than the big guys, right? I mean, when we're talking about change barriers and we're talking about how hard change is to navigate, it is harder in bigger, more complex organizations where you have more employees, more providers, more leaders to get through that diffusion curve, right? And so I really do hold it out there that we're small and mighty and we have possibilities to do it better. And I love the idea of taking over our primary and secondary markets with great loyalty from them, but then starting to entice those providers and patients from the farther markets and the bigger organizations. And instead of people in small communities going to the big city to access the big guys, it happens in reverse. The patients in the big city come to us small hospitals because their providers and patients see that the care is so stellar and consistent and they can trust it there. So that's my hope for rural healthcare.
Yeah, well, it's possible.
It
We
is.
we are seeing some of that in specific programs that we have, specifically wound care.
Mm.
Getting actually from all over the state, and so it's possible. I just want to
I
share that with the
know.
viewers. It can
Yeah,
happen.
I know. And isn't that great? I see some examples in about some of our other partners where surgeons are like, wow, I'm fighting for OR time, OR block time in this big city hospital. And I can go down the road to this community hospital and I get some OR time. And wow, they have great staff and they have great systems and they have great service and they have great quality. I'm treated well and my patients are treated well and they get great care. And they're like, can I have more OR time? Can I have more OR time? And so, can I bring my friends?
Yes. Well, yeah, Sue, maybe we need to do some recruiting together. So,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, Ben, this has been fun to talk about what's going on at Glencoe Regional Health and your leaders, your teams that are working to make it a better place for your community. And it's just a delight to partner with your organization to help get your experience initiative standing up and going, and now 5 quarters in to keep it going. And thank you for your commitment to that, your leadership of that. This never happens unless the CEO, it takes everybody. It takes it's not just the CEO, but the CEO says no to this. It's not going to happen, right? It takes the person in your seat being committed to it, having the vision for it, playing their part in it. And I thank you for that, Ben. It's just a delight to see you taking the leadership of this and making it work and keeping it going. And I'm excited about your future and where it will take you.
Well, thank you, Sue. I love this organization and I love the people that I get to work with. And so that's what keeps me coming back every day. And it's really an opportunity for me. And I love it every day. So thank you for helping us and guiding us and allowing us to be part of that structure that'll really allow us to reach our goals.
It is our pleasure. It is our privilege. When you win, we feel like winners too. So thanks for letting us be on your team, Ben. We'll be back again next quarter for an update to see how this is moving forward. If you missed Ben's prior episodes, it might be a good listen for our new listeners to go back and start with his first episode and kind of hear the chronology of what's been happening there in their organization through its experience initiatives. So new episode each Wednesday. And feel free to listen back on past episodes if you're new to our podcast listener group. So thank you again, Ben.
Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.